September 23rd, 2025, special session, work session, and special sessions now called to order. I would like to ask for a motion to go into special session.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're now in special session. First motion is the approval of an ordinance authorizing the purchase and sale of property located at 149 North Potomac Street, Hagerstown, Maryland.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for to approve an ordinance authorizing the purchase and sale of property located at 149 North Potomac Street in Hagerstown, Maryland, from 149 North Potomac LLC. The purchase price of $2.5 million is to be paid from the general fund reserves.
I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Not really discussion, just a statement. I think that each of us in our own way, over the last week or so, public deliberations on the matter have attempted, in our best ability, to convey to the public, and I think it's important to reiterate it here again today. The intention of the city is not to purchase this property, to own it, and to rehab it or fix it up or whatever you want to say. It is to acquire the property so that we can work with another partner, a private partner, another public entity, whomever would come to the table that would have the capacity and resources to make something of this property. I say again, if you are from this community of any time, you probably spent time at the old YMCA in some capacity at some point in your life. It has sat there empty for 20 years, and everybody in this community for 20 years has driven down Potomac Street and said, man, I wish somebody would do something with that building. Everybody sees it, everybody knows it, everybody says it. I'm going to be very frank. When this building went up for auction some months back, I went to the county commissioners. I went to this new administration. I said very plainly, if we don't make an attempt, some form of sincere attempt to do something now, this building could very likely end up in some type of foreclosure ad hoc process, and we'll be sitting and wondering and waiting another 20 years. And the reality is this building doesn't have another 20 years to sit another 20 years. This is our attempt. It may absolutely fail at the end of the day. We may reach the 60-day period and we may say, you know what? This task is too big for this body. This building is too far out of reach for what we are able to do. But I would also say we're going to try. And my hope is that some private party, some differentiation of private parties may come to the table and come to our door and come knocking and say, hey, you've got this at a very reasonable cost. We'd like to entertain being a partner in taking this off your hands and doing something with it. And I've tried to convey that in the different venues that I've been able to speak at in recent weeks. And I think that for me, and I use these examples, I've been here long enough to see us, quote unquote, give away a lot of property, whether it is the venue that is now Hub City Vinyl, whether it is the old Double T, it's probably a little bit before my time, the Double T Lounge, or the S Bar, or whatever it was called across the street, whether it's the building right behind us. There is at least a dozen buildings in this downtown that we have bought and taken a loss on to gain in the end. I understand that. I understand that's a reality, and I understand this is a much bigger fish, so to speak, than those other ventures. But we're going to make a try at this, and our try is not to be the owners, operators, and developers, but to put it back in private hands or some other public entity's hands, so that they can do exactly that.
Well said, Councilman. Anybody else?
I do. I just want to make sure I understand as well. So with the developers, are they rehabbing it to how we see fit?
Correct.
Okay,
That's why we secured the building.
that's what I wanted to make sure, because I had a lot of questions about it, and that's what I was telling people, but I wanted to make sure that I was telling them correctly as well, so.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, approval of a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of a grant agreement for the City of Hagerstown Public Safety Feasibility Study.
Mr. Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for mayor and council approval of a resolution authorizing the execution of a grant agreement between the City of Hagerstown and the State of Maryland Board of Public Works. The grant is for $250,000. The study will benefit the promotion and health of well-being of the citizens and improving the safety of the city.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just want to thank our state delegation for pushing this through. Special shout out to Delegate Schindler, who knew how important to get the study was and made sure to make it happen.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, approval of a resolution memorandum of understanding between Hagerstown Fire Department and the Office of the State Fire Marshal.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move for mayor and council approval of a resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding, MOU, between the Office of the State Fire Marshal and the City of Hagerstown Fire Department. The MOU delineates the roles, duties, and responsibilities of the HFD Fire Marshal's Office and the Office of the State Fire Marshal.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval to accept the Hagerstown Police Standards and Mental Health Project Grant.
Mr. Mayor, we move for the mayor and council approval to accept the State of Maryland Police Standards and Mental Health Project Grant in the amount of $147,800. This no-match grant will enhance internal accountability and promote officer wellness in Washington County, Maryland.
Have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, approval to secure a speaker for an upcoming conference.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for mayor and council approval to secure Travis Housey, a speaker and advocate for the first responder mental health, to address an upcoming conference scheduled for April of 2026 in the amount of $45,000. Funding will come from a no-match State of Maryland grant designed to enhance internal accountability and promote officer wellness in Washington County, Maryland.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the purchase of a video switcher from Washington Professional Services.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for mayor and council approval of the purchase of a video switcher from Washington Professional Service in the amount of $23,614. This equipment will be used for the production of mayor and council meetings, productions, and studio work.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, special session is adjourned right now, and we'll move into work session items. I'll try and get through as quick as I can with the preliminary agenda review. Next week will be called to the order. Have our invocation, pledge to the flag. We'll have our announcements, the rules of procedure effective December 17, 2024. Use of cell phones during the meetings is restricted. All correspondence for distribution to elected officials should be provided to the city clerk and should include a copy for the city clerk for inclusion in the official record. Our October meeting schedule is Tuesday, October 7th, 2025, work session at 4 p.m. Tuesday, October 14th, 2025, no meeting is scheduled. Tuesday, October 21st, 2025, work session at 4 p.m. Tuesday, October 28th, 2025 is a regular session at 7 p.m. We will have appointments of board and traffic and parking. Proclamations will be African Heritage Month. We'll have Agenda item, citizen comments. The citizen comments on the agenda item shall be limited to topics listed for consideration on this agenda and limited to 3 minutes. We'll have our approval of minutes. Our consent agenda. First up would be community engagement, the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts Lamp Post Sponsorship Program. Under engineering, design and permit acquisition for City Park Stream Restoration, Frederick Seibert and Associates Incorporated, Hagerstown, Maryland, $88,137. Resurface tennis courts at Wheaton Park and City Park. South Coast Sports Construction, Jacksonville, Florida, $30,000. Hager House Visitor Center Phase 1, Garrett Construction Services Incorporated, Charlotte, North Carolina, $150,891.76. Under fire, we'll have repair of interior of existing block building at HFD's Training Center, GE&I Construction Incorporated, Hyattsville, Maryland, $33,700. Under information technology, dossier annual fleet management software renewal, AMCS Group Incorporated, Boston, Massachusetts, $11,159.51. Dossier annual software renewal of Veeam Backup Solution, SHI International Corp., Dallas, Texas, $15,840. Implementation of HPD in IntelliTime Dynamic Scheduler, IntelliTime Systems Corporation, Santa Ana, California, $19,800. Under police, ballistics breaching door and frame, Global Assets Integrated, Las Vegas, Nevada, $12,575. Blanket funding for camera system, Spiker Security, Hagerstown, Maryland, $100,000. Blanket funding for uplifting of the departmental vehicles, East Coast Emergency Lighting, Millstone Township, New Jersey, $100,000. Roof replacement at Police Department Headquarters, Garland DBS Incorporated, Cleveland, Ohio, $65,983. AVCC annual subscription fee, LexisNexis, Chicago, Illinois, $21,950.78. Under Public Works, City Hall roof replacement, Garland DBS Incorporated, Cleveland, Ohio, $147,978. Roof replacement at Steam Engine Museum, Garland DBS Incorporated, Cleveland, Ohio, $31,301. Bulk road salt for snow removal, primary contract, Cargill Incorporated, which is $76.85 a ton, North Olmsted, Ohio, and secondary contract, Morton Salt Incorporated at $78.11 a ton, Chicago, Illinois, at $160,000. Under utilities, water traveling screen repair at RCW WTP, Atlas SSI, Monticello, Mississippi, $92,703.60. Water risk and resiliency assessment and emergency response plan update, AARC Consultants LLC, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, $122,511. Water and wastewater underground infrastructure marketing, USIC Locating Services LLC, Indianapolis, Indiana, $208,000. Wastewater Evaqua pressure regulating valve for DAFT operations, Hayward Incorporated of Virginia, Glen Allen, Virginia, $11,864.29. Wastewater Pump Station 13 design, permitting, and bidding engineering service, Buckhart Horn, Baltimore, Maryland, $395,555. Wastewater rebuild pump 2 at Pump Station 8, STH Incorporated, Frederick, Maryland, $24,195. There is no unfinished business. New business will have introduction of an ordinance, amendments to city code for vending machines, approval of resolution, parking lease agreement with Maryland State Department of Education, Division and Rehabilitation Services, approval of resolution, annexation amendment, Jordan annexation, Haven Road, approval of an amendment to scope of project for Community Development Corporation, tax sale acquisition, approval of after-school program at Parkside Community Center, and approval to apply for Community Forestry Catalyst Fund Grant. We will have general citizen comments. General citizen comments are welcome and shall be limited to 3 minutes, and advised to keep it at city business. We'll have our city administrator comments, mayor and council comments, and we'll adjourn. Next up, we'll have municipal infraction changes, Paul Fulk and Amanda Gregg.
Welcome back.
So when we discussed last time, we talked about municipal infractions and how the state law recently changed to allow municipalities to go up to $5,000 versus $1,000 that had been for about 40 plus years for municipal infractions. And we talked about an escalating fine schedule, working with legal counsel when drafting the way to do an escalating fine. They felt it was in the best opinion for the city to leave municipal infraction fine amounts for property maintenance code just exactly as written, so it was easy to understand. So any person that was cited in violation of the code could see what the penalty was if they failed to comply. And then for the nuisance abatements and vacant structure ordinances, to just make it as a maximum fine amount of $5,000, and then have a policy to guide the staff on how to escalate fines when there are multiple offenses in a 24-month time period. And then finally, with that, when we have to amend the chapter 1, I want to say it was, of the city code to give us the authority to go up to the $5,000 amount. The interesting thing on that is when the state updated the law, they allowed the preset fine amounts to be up to $5,000, but they did not update the state code for doubling the fines. So therefore, the court cannot double a fine more than what the preset amount is if it's over $1,000. So meaning that if we fine someone $2,500, the court can't double it to $5,000. It has to be $2,500 or less if the court chooses. Interesting enough, the citations that they've printed already go effective on October 1 says up to $5,000 for the doubling, but state law was not amended to show that. So we felt that was a little bit too many changes in what was discussed and approved discussed as what to move forward with to vote on. So we wanted to bring back these amendments based on legal's recommendation once reviewing everything after the last discussion. And we're here for any questions, or if you're good with this, we can have it prepared for next week.
You good? Everybody good with it?
Yep.
All right. We will
Yes,
have
sir.
that for you next week. That would be 5 introductions next week, because each chapter has to be done as its own. So it might seem like a lot, but each chapter has to be done as its own. All right, just want to make it clear.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I can.
Just didn't have anybody wrote here, so I didn't know who was coming up. Next up is the vacant property tax discussion, Mr. Paul Fulk.
Okay. This is something that's been brought up as discussions for different things on, do we want to tax vacant properties at a different rate? One of which is, is there any legal precedence to be able to do that in the state of Maryland? I'm not the attorney, so I cannot give those types of answers for stuff. I can tell you that the state of Maryland did pass a amendment to state law back in 2024 that gave Baltimore City and a county the ability to tax vacant structures at a different rate. I can also tell you that the City of Frederick also passed an ordinance in 2024 to tax vacant structures at a different rate as well. That is common in other jurisdictions across the country. Alaska is one that's very unique on taxing vacant structures at different tax rates than the occupied structures in their municipalities. But that is something that could be researched further. That's something that is of the council's interest. I'm sorry, there was no packet prepared for this discussion here. If you're wondering, how many vacant properties do we have in town? Sometimes that's one of the questions, is because, it feels like that there are many vacant structures in town. And I can go with what's registered. So what does it mean to be registered? So to be a registered vacant property in Hagerstown, you have to be vacant for 6 months. But there are several exemptions that can get you out of that program. One of which is in the first year of vacancy. If you are listed by a Maryland licensed real estate broker, which we kind of went over last week, what that means. But if you're licensed, if you have a licensed Maryland state real estate broker, have your property listed, you're exempted for the first year of vacancy, because that's showing that you're trying to sell the property. Now, if it's been vacant for 2 years or it's been vacant for 20, and then you decide, well, I'm going to list it now, that doesn't get you in the exemption. It's just the first year of vacancy. Another exemption is that if you have active work going on the property, and active work is defined by having multiple permits on the project. So it's not just saying you have a plumbing permit to replace a toilet. No, you are showing a comprehensive work that's being done to bring this property either back online to occupancy or maybe to sell in the future. Don't know, that's kind of their choice, but it's showing that you have multiple permits. Those are the typical ways to get removed from the vacant structure program. But if they do qualify, and if they've been vacant for 6 months, then they come into the program, generally not voluntarily. Usually we're going to seek out those that are vacant. Right now, as we have in Hagerstown, we have 296 vacant properties. 243 are residential and 53 are non-residential. So where does that really kind of break down into it? It's less than 2% of our properties in town are vacant as of today. For the non-residential ones, 18 that's the 53, 18 of them are the storefronts in our downtown that they have maybe an occupied upper units at the property, but they have just that vacant storefront. So we had changed back in 24 with the ordinance there to include those. And then just for knowledge, because you might feel or we get statements that a lot of times they're in our downtown, 28 of the 53 vacant properties are located in the downtown. So there's a fair amount of them in our more of our core of them. So but the residential and the non-residential are all across the city. When we've amended the ordinance over the time, before it just focused on the downtown, but we expanded it to include the whole entire city on it. I will say that the highest that we ever had was in 2017. There was over 500 vacant properties in Hagerstown at that time. Like I said, now we're below 300. So we feel like we're moving in the right direction. Certainly the economy at that time with the interest rates and how much people were selling properties for, being able to get cheap interest, that kind of really spawned a lot of the sales that we had of vacant properties in town with them. But I mean, I'm here to more or less take notes for anything or comments if that's something that we wanted to pursue with the taxing the vacant structures at a different rate. I can tell you what the city of Frederick does if you wanted a comparison. So,
Quick question,
go ahead.
Paul, I'm
Yes.
sorry. In the 296 vacant properties, are any of those exempt or no?
No, those are all
Those are
active.
all, okay.
So we have several that we monitor so that they fall into some sort of category of that they're exempt right now as today sits, but we have to keep on checking them on a monthly basis to see do they fall out of the exemption. Has it been 13 months that they've been vacant for the first year and by the real estate agent, or did the permits expire and they didn't take any action on it? Like I said, I can share with what the city of Frederick does for their taxes. For habitually vacant property, for their purposes, they said that those were for vacant for 3 years or more. If it's been vacant for 3 years, it's 2 times their tax rate. 4 is 2.5, 5, 3, 6 years, 3.5. It kind of goes up in that scale.
So they don't start until year 3.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Are you asking us to propose, or are you suggesting a specific starting point?
I guess at first it would be something we'd have to explore. Is the council interested in taxing vacant structures at a different rate?
I mean, I think for me, I'm interested. I remember when I remember there was a gentleman that came in the one time and he was upset with the city that we had addressed his property. I think it was on Salem Avenue, and I think he said it hadn't been occupied since like 1984, right? And he had like 2 of them, they were half a double or something. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, you're getting upset for a property that you haven't touched, for 30 years, that your neighbors have to live next to. and absorb that blight from. So for me, that immediately makes me interested because I think that there's probably a good number of that 296 you're citing that have that deleterious effect, to their immediate neighbors. And I do like the fact that Frederick instituted some reasonable time frame to say, okay, once you get to this point, it's clear you don't want to do something. So I feel like me personally, I think somewhere between 3 and 5 years is that right number. That's just my opinion. Because for whatever reason, property could get tied up in settlement with an estate, between family, it could get, for some reason or other, bank foreclosure, not being able to sell, because of conditions of properties directly next to it. So I think that there has to be consideration for a time period. So we at least, to the degree reasonable, don't penalize the people that are stuck with properties that they're trying to move, but for whatever reason can't in some reasonable time. So I'm good with anything past 3 years.
Do you know if this had a lot of success in Frederick?
I do not. I can certainly research that and bring that back to let you know if it was successful on moving any properties in Frederick. They haven't, I don't know if they started the clock, and that's something I can ask them as well. Did they start the clock once the ordinance was passed, or did they look at something that, for example, the one property I mentioned earlier, why being vacant for 20 years, did they say, oh, you've been vacant for 20, now you're at this rate? I don't know where that is, but I can certainly ask that question.
And I think it would also be helpful to understand in those other jurisdictions like Frederick that have done this of what vacant means.
They did define it in their ordinance, and I can share that on the next time we bring this forward to discussion.
Is ours similar in definition?
I will be honest, mostly theirs is more straightforward. We provide a lot of exemptions for the registration of a property to meet the needs of our local community. So, but I can do a comparison. That's not a problem.
That would be good to see.
And is this in regards to blighted vacant? Or, because, I mean, a building can just be vacant, but not blight necessarily. So how are we looking at it just as in a whole, or like, I know you said after the 6 months, that's when it's considered vacant, but just what if no one has rented their property yet? You know what I mean? So is it still considered? I know what the word means, like it's technically it's vacant, but are we taxing regardless of how it looks? You know what I mean?
I understand the question. That's up to you all. I can bring back anything to let you know. For the registered properties, it is at exactly 50%. 50% are considered blighted and 50% are considered non-blighted. But yeah, I have to really, the blighted is more of an, what's that, an opinion almost. It's one of those things that by the courts, they kind of say, you know what blight is when you see it.
Right.
But there's really no definition of what blight is, and there isn't out there. I've done a lot of research on that. There just isn't a definition of what blight is. So the way that the state law was written and the way Frederick's is, they just basically, you're vacant for that time
Just
period.
vacant.
You're just vacant. But I can bring
And
back
that's their so-called definition.
You want
And that's their so-called definition of.
Yeah, just vacant for so many years. So they call it habitually a vacant. So once you pass the 3-year time period, you're considered habitually vacant.
Is there anything the body could do to add to that, or is that, we can't do that because of the state?
That's the Frederick law there. So the state law just basically was an enacting law to allow the city of Baltimore and local counties to establish their own tax rate for vacant structures. That's
Okay.
all they gave.
Well, what I'm asking is, can the body come up with their own definition of blight?
Oh, yes, definitely.
All right.
Yeah, it's whatever can be followed and stuff there. I can bring what we use as a standard the next time when we go to a property on whether or not it is blighted or not blighted.
Okay.
And out of curiosity, does Frederick use the same like same exemptions that we're using as well, or no?
No, ours are local, homegrown, and they
Okay.
have a program. I did a ride along with their jurisdiction. I want to say it was last year, maybe 2 years ago. Time blends after a while. But that they had not really started their vacant registration program when I was there at that time.
Any other questions for Paul on this?
No.
Right. I'll bring something back. I'll put together information and we'll have something at another later meeting.
Thank you, Paul.
All right,
you.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up is discussion of responsibility related to transport of offenders to hospital with minor injuries. Chief Kifer.
Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Say, you guys look very familiar. So the administrator asked me to come in and talk to you. I guess we briefly discussed this at one of our previous discussions where it just kind of generally came up. So I assume that you guys want to have an understanding of what we're talking about here. So the way it works is if we make an arrest on anyone, it has to go before a commissioner and therefore go to the county jail. The jail has a medical staff out there that's a company that they've hired that's under contract, and they determine whether they're going to accept that person into the facility with said injuries. So what we see a lot of is minor injuries like injuries that are caused by drug use. The new drugs are out there, open wounds, things like that. If they are taken before the commissioner and then at the jail, they'll turn them away, which means we then have to transport them to the hospital, sit with them until they're seen by a physician and get a clearance by a physician before they can go back out to the county jail and be taken care of. And what we're seeing more and more and more is that we're spending a lot of time at the hospital with individuals that are in our custody, because once they're in our custody, we can't just turn them loose. So we're paying overtime to man people to be at the hospital to sit with these people until they're cleared by the physicians out there and then taken to the county jail. And until the county jail accepts them, they are our responsibility. So there's no transitioning them to someone else and saying that's not our job anymore. So it's even as far as they can be sitting in the holding section out there where we've got them there waiting to be seen by a commissioner. The jail has kind of accepted them in that sense. They're seen by the commissioner and being held, and then the county can tell us we need to come back out there and take them to where they won't take it, or they won't keep them. So it's just become a problem. And we have some other members of our department that have experiences with relatives that work in other jurisdictions in the state of Pennsylvania that use the same medical company that don't have the same issues at those facilities in Pennsylvania. So don't know if it's just the staffing of this company that the sheriff's department uses or that they got contracted with, or if it's just a different kind of ruling that's there. But I know we're frustrated with that. It impedes our ability to be efficient in a lot of ways because we're spending an enormous amount of time just sitting with people at a hospital, waiting for them to get cleared so we can get back out on the street. So I could tie, 2 people up at the hospital for that. And that's taking 2 guys off the street, 2 men and women off the street that could be out there doing the job. So it's an unfortunate situation is where we are. There is no resolution to that we can come up with or we can see. It's reduced in the sense that if there's a citation that can be issued, then we do that and we cut them loose and they don't see a commissioner. Sometimes we can do that. Sometimes the situation doesn't really call for that. They need to go and see a commissioner and hopefully be held for the betterment of our community. But it's from time to time, it causes decisions to be made by members of my department to maybe take a different approach instead of making that arrest because they know they're going to get tied up for a while. And sometimes that's not the proper decision to make, but we understand why, it starts to affect those decisions. So we're constantly working on trying to come up with something with the sheriff's department and that, but Their sheriff's department's kind of stuck with it because the contract that they have is with this company right now until that's expired, and they either look for another company or make some changes.
It's the same way with an overdose too, right? If somebody's laying on same thing, the officer would have to sit out emeritus until, right?
Yes.
So I'm wondering if funds could be made available or a conversation with the county to actually have somebody that could make an arrest and sit out at emeritus or wherever, and to be able to alleviate that from the police department. Like somebody that's close to retirement or somebody that wants part-time job or whatever.
Yeah, you're looking to hire someone, contract
yeah.
someone out that has police authority, because they'd have to have some kind of police authority for
That would
that.
take, alleviate you guys.
I'm not opposed to that concept and that idea. If we could find that solution, they would have to be somewhat on call, because it's not something you would have them just standing by waiting for that to happen. They'd have to be somebody that could be on call to come in the middle of the night. And sometimes we have that at 2 a.m. or whatever those hours are when it happens. I'm not opposed to looking into that, see if that's something that's
That'd be a
feasible.
good solution. I mean, especially if somebody that, I like that idea better, not having somebody sit there for 8-hour shift or whatever, be on call and go
It's
out.
frustrating, and we'd like to come up with something, but yeah, if we could, I'll go back to staff, we'll look at it, we'll see what that kind of looks like, see if there's any interest that we can put out there, and see if anybody would be interested in maybe looking at taking on that role. Maintain that certification that they would have to have, because if something happens, we need to have somebody be able to act
Right.
at the hospital. So it's got to be somebody with a sworn status. But yeah, we could hire a retired officer that still has the certifications and bring them on under that part-time position we have, and just bring them in as a contract whenever we need them.
In auxiliary police, they can't do that, 'cause they're not.
Right. They're not sworn, right? They're just regular civilians. Yep.
I know didn't we pass additional funding for when the correctional officers have to sit out there? Didn't we do something like that for the correctional officers when they take, like when they transport the inmates out there and they have to sit out there? So we passed something before. for
Did we,
them.
or is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I remember, I feel like I vaguely remember that. So I do like your idea, because I know last week, a fella came out there from the ball field, and even Officer Renner was out there. But it was like 5 of your officers were out there. So
Yeah.
I know taking 5 officers off the street for one individual, waiting for him to be discharged. Right.
And again,
Stretching.
it wouldn't fit every situation. If we're making that arrest and an injury happens during the arrest, then we're going to be responsible for being with that person until they go see the commissioner. It's when we know we're going to be taking them and they're being turned away from the jail, that's where we would really need somebody at that point, because then we could transport, have that person come out, sit with them, and then our guys could go back on the street and then have them be able to transport them back to the county jail to then be accepted into their presence.
I'm
So
wondering-
it's the-
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's the county jail that initially is saying, no, we're not going to accept them, take them to the hospital first? Is that how you're saying it's going?
Yeah, because if we go out to the commissioner's office, when the county, if they may not even make it to see the commissioner. So when they're taken in for booking, if there's some kind of injury or something that rises to the level of them to be evaluated by their staff, which everyone gets evaluated, then the medical staff that's on call, that's on the service out there, comes and sees them and says they have to be cleared by a hospital or by a physician. At that point, the jail says you need to take them and get them cleared.
I was wondering if that's something we can work in conjunction with the county, so we'd have a bigger pool of people to pick from to be on call.
It's worth a shot that you have that conversation with them and see what we could come up with. But we might find some people that would be willing to do that, because it's not really they're not on the street, they're not working that, but they're there just as a, for lack of a better term, a security guard, at the hospital, and then transport them to the jail once they're cleared by the hospital. Because our staff, the officer that makes the arrest, they're already going to have their paperwork done. That's already completed and there. Somebody just needs to take them back to the county jail then for them to be booked in
Right.
properly.
What did we do before this?
Well, there's always
Well, it was
been,
like, my question is, we've had central booking since, I don't know,
This has always been an issue.
2006?
Yeah, this has always been an issue. It's just.
I'm just
it's
curious,
more
what,
now.
what did we do before this?
This is what we've always done. It's just, it's more and more people are getting turned away, on
So
a
you're
regular
saying that the
basis.
county central booking facility is turning more of the individuals that we bring out for booking away?
There's more being turned away today than there were back in 2006. But people also know how to play that game. So those that are being arrested, being taken in, know certain things to do and say to get turned away. It's, you know, they have nothing to lose, so it's just time for them. But we're seeing more and more, lack of a better term, injuries from the drug use that we see now that's being used, all the intravenous drug use that's causing these injuries to their arms and legs and things, that they're being seen for that and being turned away to be checked out and secured. So it's a liability issue on the part of the sheriff's department, you know, the county jail. So I get part of it. Just a little confused on sometimes they get turned away and we're kind of confused why from a medical staff, why they couldn't handle it from there. But that's the contracting that they have with that company with them. So I'm not blaming the sheriff's department. My issues are really with the medical staff, the company that they've hired seems to be less likely to want to just do certain things immediately. They're passing the buck off to someone else, unfortunately.
And when does their contract end? You said?
That I don't know.
That
I'm
you
not
don't
sure.
know.
Yeah, I'm not sure when that contract, how long their contract was for.
So I'm curious if the law is broken, how are we turning them away?
They're not turning them away. They just won't accept them until they're cleared by a doctor.
Okay. Yeah, I understand.
They won't accept them.
So they don't have a doctor on staff?
Right. They have medical staff, but not a doctor.
So they have to go to Meritus
For
and then be released from
I mean, wouldn't it
Meritus.
make more sense to pay for a doctor to be at that location rather
was
than
thinking
to
the
pay
same
for us
thing.
to go to Meredith?
I
You know what I mean?
don't disagree. Disagree.
I mean, to me, it'd be cheaper for the county and city. And
In
the
today's
municipalities to use central
world,
booking.
with the way this has all changed over the last 5 or 6 years, gotten so much worse. Yeah, there would be a better solution to that, but whether or not they could even hire a doctor that would do that, I'm not sure. But
I mean, it'd be one thing if central booking and the detention center were not on absolutely opposite sides of the area geographically, but they're literally
Yeah.
as far apart as you can possibly get, right, on the bounds of that greater Hagerstown area.
yeah, it's really frustrating. I know the guys get really frustrated when they have to then leave central booking, drive to the hospital, and then just sit and wait. And a lot of times the hospital staff's really good. They bring a doctor in right away and they can make some decision and turn them back. But then there's times when they're so busy out there that you sat, you know, just like anybody else would sit.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like the solution is to sit at Meredith.
And then after Meritus, then transport them
Back to
back to
central booking.
booking.
Yeah.
Are there, because of the interest of community resources in engaging with that individual to entertain the offer of additional help at that moment, is that creating additional time delay as well? In other words, let's say you arrest an individual for whatever activity occurred that required that. You take them out to the county detention center, you want to book them, you can't because it's, you know, they won't accept. You go to Meritus, and Meritus, you know, you get to that point where you're sitting, you see a doctor, and then is there a point after that where, like, as soon as you get cleared, you're like, all right, John, you know, you're good to go, going back to the detention center to book you? Or is there an intervention process that occurs that says, hey, before we take John, you know, over to the detention center, can we sit and talk with him and see if he'll go here or there, which then adds another like 6 or 8 hours? I'm just curious if that's happening.
No, if we're at the point where we've already gone to central booking, when he's cleared or she's cleared at the hospital, they're going right back to be booked
Okay.
in. So, yeah. And like I said, a lot of times it's, the officer's going to fill out the paperwork, do all the booking, paperwork needs to be done at central booking. Someone else is sitting with the person at the hospital. And then it could transfer past that shift and we're paying, we're asking for overtime officers to stand by and go out and sit with them until they're cleared. So that happens, again, that happens routinely. That's not unheard of on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. We're seeing someone, an email going out saying we need someone to go and sit for security at the hospital with a prisoner while we're waiting for them to be cleared for whatever the reason is that they're there. And sometimes it could be an hour, and then sometimes it could be many hours.
Okay, let me ask the opposite of that. Is that opportunity being lost then in that process? In other words, we hear the argument or position that in a number of these cases, it is a medical issue and not a criminal issue, right? That's the thought process. I'm just curious if what we're doing, we're going out to the hospital, getting it cleared, bringing it back, putting them in jail, are we missing the opportunity to in that moment redirect that individual in another avenue, or is that an entirely separate process that has to wait for the legal proceeding?
No, and I think where I'm following you now is that if we're associating it strictly to someone who has drug use,
Yes.
okay, then yes, we're going to be using that process and taking advantage of that time when we're with that person at the hospital. But a lot of times has nothing to really do with this. It could be someone who got into a fight with somebody else on the street, and they're one of the two that gets locked up, or both get locked up. But the injuries are that they have injuries, and we then take them out there. The injuries maybe don't look like something we would think would be a big deal from our experiences, but you get out there and like, oh, they got to be seen, and then you have to take them out to the hospital. Completely different set of circumstances. But in those cases where it's someone with substance abuse issues, yeah, we're going to take advantage of that when we have them, because we're sitting with them anyway. So we're going to try to at least engage that part of it, as long as they're cooperating and want to be and that kind of thing. Yeah.
But there's no immediate alternative in which to direct that individual that is someplace other than a county jail cell.
No, they're on occasion, and it depends on the charge for which they were physically arrested and being taken out to central booking. There could be an occasion where we then make that decision to take them to the hospital, and on those occasions we could just issue the citation and let them, and then we back away. We walk away from it from there, and then they're free and clear at the hospital to be seen and go.
I got
That
it.
does happen sometimes.
Okay.
But typically when it's to the point where we've had to actually physically lock you up and take you to central booking, there's rare time where we're going to cut you loose at that point. Unless it's
I got you.
more of a drunken disorderly kind of thing where they're now sobering up and you can tell that they've kind of got their act together a little bit at that point, that we could then make that decision. They're not going to go back out on the street and cause problems then once they're released. So yeah, those are those opportunities, and that's where supervisors help make those decisions real time, whether they want to do that or not. Yeah, if it's a minor warrant that we're picking someone up on, and they just failed to appear for court for a minor offense, and we take them to central booking, and all of a sudden we know they're going to be at the hospital for a while. We may just say, just call us when they're free. We can pick them up on a warrant again. They're not a danger to society. They just didn't show up for court for selling tobacco to a minor because the place that's the tobacco store they worked at. That wouldn't be something we would spend a lot of enormous time on. We would just tell them, let us know when you're clear. We'll get this cleared up with you tomorrow. Or if they get cleared later on, we'll go pick them up from the hospital. So it's those decisions we have to make from time to time for the efficiency of doing what we need to do. Because sitting and essentially babysitting at a hospital for hours for real super minor offenses like that just isn't an efficient use of our time.
Anything else for Chief on this one?
It was just clear that the men and women aren't just, in the streets, but they're doing other roles and responsibility that takes up time and where you wear many hats and have to evaluate and be a social work type environment and and transporter, and it's just great awareness.
Anyone else? All right, you're staying here for the next one, too.
I believe I'm staying here for the
All
next
right,
one.
what's
yeah.
the Operation Take-Back discussion, review of areas to target?
So a few of you were on the council when we did Operation Take Back. The first one that we worked on was the King Street area. That spawned from a Neighborhoods First group meeting and concerns in that area that just a variety of different nuisance type issues, activity that was going on in that community that they didn't feel like they were getting the coverage that they were looking for, the police presence. And it was down to things like trash and stuff. It wasn't just law enforcement. So I approached city administrator and some other council members at the time and said, well, let's do a walking take back. Let's walk the neighborhood. Let's see what the neighborhood issues are. Let's talk to the people in that community as we're walking through. And we did. We walked through and met with some of the Neighborhoods First group members along with other citizens that were in the area, and came up with a plan. And one of those plans was we were going to expand our camera system into that area. So that was the very first thing that we were going to take action on, was to do that. We then also approached the area with some targeted enforcement from not only the police department, but from the other city departments that could do things in the area to work on making the community a better community and actually helping the community to be self-reliant on that, and not relying on the city staff to solve all the solutions. So that was pretty successful, I believe. You know, and that's that encompassed the Cannon Avenue and the old sheet store area, the old hospital property area, down to Five Corners where the liquor store is at. And so we worked on a variety of different solutions through other city departments, not just ours. And I'm pretty happy about the solvability for that. So I believe from what I'm being asked for here, is there plans to look into other neighborhoods to do something similar? I'm open for all that. I mean, we could go back. I haven't pulled any data to find what neighborhood would be the most opportune, but I'm also open to hear from anyone that's sitting at this table. If you have an area of concern, a geographic area of concern, neighborhood that you think would benefit from this, we could approach the same way we did the King Street area.
I have one street recommendation, and then I have a comment. Well, Church Street, that area, to be considered as a target area to look into.
So church from Potomac to Burhans?
Yes. I spoke to, well, we hear it all the time, citizens just talking about the activities that happens during a street and in the alleyways. So I think that'd be worth looking into. Then my comment is, when Operation Take Back was happening, was there any resource challenges? Did we have enough folks to help, go on the street and talk to the people? It's something we need to consider going forward of revamping and having more people on the ground.
Well, when we did King Street, I had far less officers working than I do now. So we were able to do, at least from our department standpoint, we were able to do it with less than we have now. The idea behind Take Back is to get the community involved way more than we are now. So it's not to put all the onus on just city staff. It's to get the community involved with doing small things, whether it was, I think King Street, it was making sure the trash cans were out and trash is being picked up, and working on those different solutions and communicating with each other. So I'm not too concerned about the staffing part of that. I can tell you that the area you're bringing up, we addressed last month. We did, I signed an officer to that area for 30 days. And in 30 days, they made contact with a variety of different people for all the minor things that were happening in that area. And when you now get down and talk and you met Jeannie today at the Reach Center, and one of the things she talked about today was how they feel better. Well, that was in large part because of the activity that we put together, that 30-day detail that we did. Wasn't sustainable for us to do every single day after that. I know a lot of people like to see that, but we did that for 30 days to kind of get a feel for what was going on, and then we're working on some things that aren't happening every day in that area. So I think we've set the tone from the police department. Now is the time, maybe if we want to hit that area, to go through there and start talking to the business owner, the nonprofits that are in the area, and then the citizens that live there, to work on getting a better feel for what they want to see, what their feelings going on, so we can better approach that area instead of just assuming what we think we see.
So whatever area that we decide, we'll need some messaging for the community to come out and help us, right?
Yeah.
Which I think will be, it's one of the important aspects of Operation Take Back, is like take back your neighborhood.
Right.
So we would definitely need to encourage those to come outside and help us out.
I think Vester's a good neighborhood to target too, because I was at the neighborhood's first meeting a month or two ago. They had issues and things like that.
Okay.
And I don't know how much y'all are already doing in that neighborhood or what, because I know you guys have done a lot there before, but
Yeah.
we could maybe relook at that area. That would be good too.
And this shouldn't be like a one-stop shop, right? It should be like a continuous effort throughout the year to do this take back, right?
Yeah, it's not, you just don't go there for 30 days. I mean, we spent, we did about a year's worth at King Street area. I mean, it took us a while to get the cameras up, so that was one of the things that was a little timely. But just working with the Neighbors First group that was in the King Street area was another key aspect to start to build off of that, to get them involved, to get more people involved from the community. So that was a big key for that. And it was about confidence building, you know, to get the community to feel like they have support of the city, but that they can do these things, that they can do them, and they don't really need to be making those phone calls to us all the time, that they're able to solve some of these problems with the initial help from us, that they can work on that. So that's the beauty, I think, of that. One of the things that we've tossed around before under various programs is getting communities that aren't really talking to people within the community to talk to each other, is to know who's kind of like-minded, that's not afraid to step up and call your neighbor and say, hey, I'm seeing what's going on here. There's a program we've seen around the country where you turn your porch light on, and everyone keeps their porch light on, is telling the message to other people, their porch light said, I'm open to hear you. If something's going on with my child, that they're out in the neighborhood being a little nuisance, they're doing kid things, then you come talk to me about what my child's doing. You're not going to get grief from me doing that. I'm open to have that discussion with you, and vice versa. And it kind of sends a little message saying, here's the people in this community that are, and then for those other people that are in that community, maybe not doing what they should be doing, I see a bunch of porch lights on here. This might not be the neighborhood that I want to do that in, because they're going to talk to each other. They're going to let the authorities know what's going on when necessary. So I think there's ways for us to get communities involved and send those messages that are a little more subtle.
I like that idea.
That doesn't have, they don't have to come out and sit on their porches and do those things where they feel a little fearful, but I should be able to come to your house and say, you know, Miss Burnett, your little girl was throwing rocks, you know, at the street sign, and then they're really going to cause some damage to some cars, and you'd be like, thank you for letting me know that. And if your porch light's on, then I have a little more feeling that you might be open to hear me come say that, you know, constructively.
When you did the Church Street area, which encompassed North Prospect as well, for that 30 days, do you remember how many arrests you made during that 30-day period?
If memory recalls, I think it was like 26 arrests
Okay,
in 30 days.
okay.
Mostly minor offenses, a lot of, you know, warrant arrests that people have warrants from, and some drug arrests, things like that.
Reason because we get really good positive feedback from that operation and how much safer people see it there. So I commend you on that. And also, if I had my suggestion, would be North and South Locust.
I think that, you know, I think of Church Street, because I spent some time, you know, on Mitchell and McDowell areas there growing up, but I think the significant difference between King Street and a place like Church Street, between Burhan's and Potomac, is there aren't a lot of residences.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of big buildings that operate on a 9 to 5 schedule and then gone till the next day. creates a lot of sort of open space to get out of the way of sight. And so I think that it would be good if we could tie in our economic development folks in those types of settings where there is that much higher volume of commercial activity, especially that which is daily and not, around the clock. Because I think, if you go to Sheets, you have a much different, commercial activity than you do over there, because like I said, everything sort of closes up, right? And I think it would be good if they could reach out, because I think in at least some of those parts of Church Street, they're buildings with businesses that aren't absolutely connected to the activity of the area.
Right.
That just happens to be where they're at,
Right.
right? And that's where they conduct business, and and it isn't convenience oriented business, it's business. And so I think it would be good to at least engage them to see if they have an awareness, one, if they have a current concerns, number two, and if there are ways that we can assist in nullifying some of that, whether it's lighting on some of the backs of the buildings, suggestions for how to manage, their parking lot area, things like that, that I think would, again, nullify some of that when they probably leave at the end of the day and then arrive the next day and be like, man, what happened here last night? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think it would be good to engage them a little differently than, I remember that the King Street issues were much more residential neighborhood oriented activity than commercial driven destination
Right.
oriented activity.
And I agree with you 100%. And part of that is that SEPTED principles that you incorporate in that. But that's the beauty of the Operation Take Back. It's economic development should be part of that walk. They should be part of that. And they were in King Street. So most of the departments were involved with that walking take back. And then a plan was developed from that walk and that information gathering that comes back to every department. So what little bit can you do, or what should you do is where that operation comes to play. So I think it a little more challenging in the sense of what you're talking about. There's no residents really there to control
Right.
that, but
King Street was more like a live here issue, and Church Street is more like a come here issue.
right. But there's still a lot of solution-based stuff that could come out of that. And it may be just a different look than what you're going to get from a King Street. We're trying some new things. I know this is a little off topic from this, but we're running details over the next several months. We started it with that detail. I told them I wanted something done there. So we're doing things like we're in different convenience stores. We're working with our convenience stores now and putting plainclothes officers in to catch all the shoplifters and all the people coming in. So we did one this morning, and we had an arrest this morning from a local business that had a shoplifter. So I've talked to the sheriff, and the sheriff's going to have his staff doing the same thing at convenience stores that are in and around Hagerstown that are county owned, county responsibilities. So again, just trying to send a message to our community that, okay, enough, we're not doing this anymore. The idea that you can just do what you want to do when you want to do it is going to stop. And, we're going to call you on it, along with working on long-term solutions. So we're doing those kinds of things moving forward. Now that my staffing's up, I have the ability to do that. Didn't have the ability to really do that up until now. And it's the kind of work that we need to do. Wish we could have done it a while back. We just, we're kind of stuck with what we were.
As far as time frame, when would we want to bring this back?
Well, let me do some research on Locust and Mulberry, North and South, Church Street and Bester. And let me see where those numbers and what that information looks like. I can bring that back to you guys, and then we can decide as a body here, you guys can decide where that priority wants to land. And I'm not saying it has to be one overall, but doing all three of them might be a little tough. So the idea about the take back was putting that focus on a specific community and saying, here's where we think we can get our best bang for our buck and make a change.
Yeah.
So more than happy to bring some data back and let you guys make some decision on where you want to go with that.
Yeah, that way we can make that messaging clear that we want everyone to be involved to do this with us whenever we decide.
Chief, I also, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just park in Bethel Gardens and get out. So yesterday I did that and just walked up and down Jonathan Street, picking up trash. And spoke to a couple of the neighbors. A lot of them are kind of afraid to say anything about the activity that's going on. I know you know. But a lot of times what's disturbing to me is every day when I walk through, I have to walk past the little police station you have in Bethel Gardens. And so I kind of want to know if there's any plans for that, because my thing is always, it's the presence that matters a lot in certain communities. If a presence is there, I feel like a lot of things would change. It wouldn't be so much congestion right there. It wouldn't be so much going on. And I know, like, as far as our staffing, it's not like you have an officer that can stay put right there. But even if it's 2 hours out of their day, if that's part of their patrol, they kind of go in there, maybe, I don't know, do paperwork or, whatever. And even if they just take that walk around the block, it's the presence that I feel like will really kind of help.
Right.
A lot of, like, yesterday, just walking up and down the block, I probably seen like 3 officers ride up the block, but I got out. I made them get up from the Elks porch, made them wake up, because the mornings are the worst. The mornings are the worst, and that's just my opinion, because mornings when everybody is
We did a detail
getting
down there
their
on Friday
first-
morning.
Yeah.
We did a detail down there on Friday morning. We came in 3 o'clock in the morning and we were down there. We wound up making 10 arrests on Friday morning, from, the Elks area. And there on the Murph Avenue, right around the corner. With all the activity that we were witnessing for a couple hours down there, we wound up making 10 arrests down there. So those are activities, I agree with you. And that's one of the things we were, you had reached out to me about the Elks Club, and we'd already had a thing in place, so I couldn't really say anything until we did that. So, but those are activities that we see, and I agree with you. One of the things that we're trying to get to with the staffing is get back to the community resource officer program, which was having officers assigned to specific neighborhoods. And we used to have an officer that was assigned to the John Street community. We have one investor. We
Was
have
it
one
really
there.
just the staffing that kind of took away from how you guys used to do
Yeah.
stuff? So, because I know, is there any plans in the future for the police station there?
You want to?
We have-
Councilwoman Burnett can
We have
answer that.
the Bethel Gardens Police Station, I guess what we're calling it,
The
coming up.
substation. Yeah,
Substation coming up on our agenda for
Substation.
discussion.
21st of October it's on the agenda.
Yeah. Should be.
But from a staffing standpoint, that's where I want to get back to.
Yeah.
And, I've got 9 going into this next academy, so we're keeping our numbers moving forward. So
And especially if the walk consists of knocking on doors, talking to neighbors, making them feel comfortable with the presence of police. I feel like that would help a lot. I feel like that would help
That's the
them
CRO
not
program right there.
feel so afraid to reach out or say anything. There's even an older guy, I think he's from Russia. He lives in Bethel Gardens, and he deals with so much that goes on in that bottom unit, but he will not say anything because he's afraid.
that's the CRO program. That's how it worked when we had it.
What was the program called?
Community Resource Officer Program. So they were assigned to a specific community. Their job was to get to know the community intimately and have them know the officers to the point where we had community members would call on an armed robbery we had down in Bester Community. They wouldn't call the regular police department and didn't want to talk to detectives, but they wanted to talk to the officer that was the CRO in that area because they trusted them. And we were able to make arrests and get that case solved because of that connection. They work on long-term problems. So they work on things like there's a vacant house where everyone kind of hangs out. So they work on trying to solve that problem so that people aren't hanging out there. They did things like just the walking school bus, where they would walk the kids to school in the morning. Kids that didn't want to talk to them took 7-8 months, and the kids were finally starting to talk to them. By the time we had to end that program, the kids were wanting to play basketball with them and doing all kinds of stuff with them. So it's not a feel-good program. It was a trust-building program that got us some results because it changed the way the community worked within the community. People were willing to talk to each other, solve problems without having to get us involved, wait for something bad to happen before they get us involved. They were solving problems beforehand. So it had huge success, and it broke my heart when I had to break it up because we just didn't have staff. You know, I had to disband that unit. I had to disband the street crime unit at one point in time because we lost so many people all at once that we didn't have a choice. So building that back and getting that back to where it's at, we do it kind of on a shift level right now, but it doesn't have the same weight
Right.
because those officers are rotating days, nights, and midnights on their shifts, so they don't have that same connection, and they're still handling calls and doing those other things in other areas. So if I can get back to having those officers assigned to those areas specifically, we know that it works because it worked before, and it's one of the few programs that we've tried that actually did do what we wanted it to do. So it's the old beat cop kind of concept. And, you know, they're each one of those officers working in those different areas that we had a different approach, and it was their own personal approach, but it worked. So we gave them a general idea of what we wanted them to do, and then they made it their own to figure out how it would work in those communities that we're in, and hugely successful. So
When we bring, you said the 21st. When we bring this back, is it okay? Are you okay with having Kathy sit at the table with us? I just feel like with her being right in the middle of everything, she would be able to bring a lot of insight to what she feels
I have no problem
could
with
or
that.
couldn't help.
Yep.
Santiago?
Yes.
I've known Kathy for 20 plus years.
Yeah, when we, CRO revamping, CRO came up, I think it was last year, we shared how, Mayor Martinez and I shared how we were very familiar with the officers in the neighborhood when we were growing up and how, efficient they would tell us to get off the corner and go home, and they knew who our mother was, and they had to always give us rubber bands, and Mr. Bill, the mailman, also did the same thing. So I don't know why we was obsessed with rubber bands, but anyway, it was effective and made sure that we didn't get in trouble. And I could definitely recall Officer Curtis Woods being one of those folks that told us to go home and stop hanging around those people.
Yep.
And here I am. So.
Anything else for Chief? All right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Next up, we have the annexation amendment, Jordan annexation, Haven Road, Mr. Stephen Bachmiller.
City map up.
Evening.
About places.
Hello.
So I pulled up on my phone.
Okay, what we have here is a request to change one word in an annexation resolution from 2007. This is formerly known as the Jordan annexation, which was done in 2005, and then there was a defect in it, and it was re-annexed in 2007. There were a number of conditions that were placed on it, one of which was, let me back up, there was a condition placed on it that there was going to be a maximum of 376 dwelling units in the development. The plan at the time called for townhouses and multifamily. There was a condition that once there's at least 100 units built in the development, then a new road needed to be constructed from Haven Road up to Crestwood, basically through the yellow area that you see on the illustration. Property has been slowly going through the development process over a number of years. A development plan was approved for a much reduced density of dwelling units, about 241. And it was also changed to townhouses and single-family homes. That was approved a couple of years ago. The developer has started to plat the development and actually produced 3 plats, phase 1, 2, and 3. Phase 1 being the purple and yellow area, phase 2 being the brown area, phase 3 being the green. During this time, the adjacent property owners brought to the attention of the Maryland Department of the Environment flooding issues on Rest Haven Cemetery property. As a result, this developer was drawn into that concern. It has nothing to do with anything going on this property, but it's an issue with drainage coming off of the Volvo property to the north, cutting across that yellow area and affecting the cemetery. As a result, they had been held up on any developing of the yellow area. So phase one was recorded just being the purple area for 13 lots, and then the brown area as well, for a total between the two of 98 lots, which means they only have 2 more lots before they have to build the road into, up to Crestwood through the yellow. That puts them in a position where they cannot record the remaining 100+ lots in the green section. Problem is that the developer has the property under contract to a builder, and they would like to be able to move forward, but the builder is not willing to complete the sale unless they have their entitlements to the units in the green section in place. So basically, it's in kind of a holding pattern. So what happens at this point is that the applicant is asking that the mayor and council amend the annexation agreement to change the number in the 2007 annexation, where there's a 100-unit cap before the road is built out to Crestwood, changing that from 100 to 206. And what that will do is it'll allow the purple section, the brown section, and the green section all to be recorded, and allowing the developer to then sell it to the builder. Meanwhile, the current owner is working out a plan for the yellow section to salvage some of the lots. The intention is ultimately to build that road, but they would like to move forward with selling the property to the builder so they can start working on the project as the remaining issue in the yellow section is resolved. The Planning Commission endorses this approach. There are 3 points of access into the development at this time, so that we don't believe that there's any concern with redundant accesses. It looks like the yellow area is going to lose about 10 lots as they redo some of the engineering to address the flooding problem on the adjacent cemetery property within that yellow area. And they'll lose, that area was originally planned for about 35 lots. It's probably gonna be about 25. It's still up in the air a little bit. I just found out about that literally as we were going to press on the memo that we provided you on this. So it's still very in a design situation. The Planning Commission was fine with it. Their only concern was that there shouldn't be more than 206 units in the development unless the Crestwood Drive road is built. Changing that number doesn't change anything because it just says that there are more than 206 units will be built before the road to Crestwood occurs. So that's where we're at. So what we're looking for is some direction from you all. If you all are okay with amending the annexation conditions on this to change that number from 100 to 206, which will allow the platting of the green section, the purple section, and the brown are already approved by the Planning Commission and can be recorded. It would allow the remaining lots in the green section to be platted and the property transferred to the new developer while the resolution for the yellow section works its way to a completion.
Couple of questions. Since, and I have the map here pulled up, so I'm trying to follow along what you're saying. You know, when you look at it at the end of the day, and you dial in, getting to Crestwood in the grand scheme of things doesn't get us a lot. It's important, but when you look at it, a lot of these roads back in this area, you know, dead end and don't connect to one another in a way that if you and I probably sat down and redrew it today, you would want some of those roads to connect, right? This does about as good as you can in connecting to as many roads as possible to alleviate the conditions that are already created that limit the ability for street infrastructure interconnectivity to begin with. So will this yellow and orange here, and you know, we don't have the benefit of seeing things. All we have is you know, color blocks on a plan. Is there something that's supposed to interconnect there? So what's the purpose of them touching? Just to show property boundaries?
Basically, all that does is show where the developer in their submitting 3 separate plats delineated phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. That's all it
So
is.
there won't be, so they're really depending on the extension of Haven Road as a main artery in and through the orange and green sections that's all going to feed out to that or use the Kensington access, right? I'm assuming that's what this is for.
Yeah, I probably should have provided a little bit more detail on that.
Or just, so this one connects, right?
That one is going to connect, yes.
And this one connects.
That one connects, as
one
does,
does.
that one, yeah, there is no road there. There is a right-of-way stub that is on the development plan and on the plats in the green section up to the Volvo property. So
It's going to go this way.
yes, and that's reserved on the
Is
chain.
orange going to go this way?
No,
So we're going to have one access point out of the backside of this towards Volvo.
on this site, should Volvo ever
Sell
decide,
off. for
sell off
development.
and redevelop the site. And keep in mind that Volvo would then also, I believe, already has access and frontage on other roads to the north.
Right, they go out Volvo way out to what, Morgan's Avenue, is that right?
Yeah, and I believe they have frontage on Pennsylvania as well.
They do, they have one access, but it would be difficult to get
Yeah.
development to that.
Yeah, the points of access in this development are one, the road in from Pennsylvania Avenue, Haven Road, it comes right into
Right.
that, that's one. The second one is, when you come in right before you hit the apartment building and you make a left into the housing development, that will connect as well. Matter of fact, it already does. And then the third is, Kensington, which is that tail on the brown section, section 2. So you have those 3 points of access. If the yellow section develops as the sketches are currently shaping up to be, the road out to Crestwood will be built, so there's 4. Plus, there's a right-of-way reservation on the north edge of the green section if there's ever a potential for connecting to the Volvo property. And then lastly, there is also a stub in the tail of the green section. On the chance that the city or some other entity would build a bridge over the railroad track there. The road through this development is part of the northwest connector, which is a comprehensive plan road that runs through this site,
Right.
crosses over, and then connects in down where Marshall Street is on the backside of the Kilpatrick Woods development.
So that's going to stay.
That's going to stay.
Okay. I think that's the question that I had.
You have
We're not
4
losing that.
No, you have 4 points of access plus 2 stubs onto adjacent properties for future connection.
Okay.
And the planning commission was in favor of this. Their only concern was that they're going to do more than 206 lots. If anything gets built in the yellow area, they still want to see the road out to Crestwood. And right now, the sketches I have seen show that.
So you're going to say after 206, that connection has to be made.
Yes, and that'll allow the purple section, brown section, and green section all could be built
Head that way.
as shown, even if the yellow section never gets built. And I'll point out that the actual number of units that are being developed here is a fraction of what the original annexation allowed for. The annexation allowed for 371 units. It's down to about 231 with the 10 lots that would be lost in the yellow section. So,
Any other questions for Steve?
are we okay to move forward, and we'll prepare the appropriate documents for your approval?
You got fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, our city administrator's out this evening. Want to say anything? Are you good? Okay. Councilwoman Anderson.
I just want to mention that, after touring some of the sites today, the shelters, it was very eye-opening. And I just think that the public should know that there is a lot of opportunity for donations. A lot of hot meals are being given, clothing vouchers are being offered. We do have shelters that remain open. And it's pretty much based on that individual if they decide to stay or go or come in as they please. And there's a lot of conversation that was being spread that, we don't have some of these places available for individuals to get to. And I just want to make it clear for the record that that is false after visiting these places today. And that's all that I have to say.
Councilwoman Bell?
I'll piggyback off Councilmember Anderson. Excuse me. It definitely was an eye-opening to how some of these shelters are ran. I didn't know that they were really so sufficient in the things that they do. So big shout out to Ashley for making that possible for us to get around to all them to see that. Also super excited about this Operation Take Back. I think it's definitely necessary and it's a good thing to kind of target some of our areas in the town that need that. That's all I have today.
Councilman Alshire?
Nothing this evening.
Councilwoman Burnett?
I want to piggyback off of the tours of the shelters. So this morning we visited St. John's, the Hope Center, Reach, and Salvation. And it was, use the same term, eye-opening, because we actually got to hear from the folks that run these shelters. And they shared stories of their experiences being as staff, being as volunteers, and about the individuals that come into these facilities. And what was really, really eye-awakening is how we give back, right? Councilmember Anderson mentioned about donating. I think that for me, I took back, when I'm getting rid of furniture, and I'm always thinking of like one place to give furniture away to. I would consider now giving it to the mission. Same with equipment, fitness equipment, food. People a lot of times always ask the questions like, how can I help? And I feel like giving back, not necessarily just your funds, but like things around the house and also your time, makes these shelters much more efficient to serve the community. And again, thank you to Ashley for hosting this for us, and Chief for coming with us. And this will not be the first and last time we'll have these conversations, these type tours. We did share with Ashley that we would like to do this more often and visit other facilities in the community, because it's one thing to sit at this table and make decisions, right? But when you actually, again, visit these places and meet these people, it helps change your perception and it helps me make better decisions. So again, thank you to Ashley and Chief for making that happen. And congratulations to the organizers of the South End Block Party and the City Fall Fest. Even from the parking, it was so organized, even to park, to get in and to get out. It was packed. The Chuck Brown band, I brought my aunt with me. She's such a go-go fan, and we danced, and all the vendors that were there and all the kids. It was just an overall great event. So kudos to everyone involved with making that happen. Thank you.
Councilman Flaherty?
That was a great eye-opening experience to see how, you drive by the shelters, but you don't know how they operate or who the folks are that live there. So it was a great experience. I appreciate Ashley and the chief for giving us the tour today. And it was disconcerting how we heard other municipalities and states would, drop off their folks here, which we want, our shelters for the folks that live in Washington County, and they're for here. So, and that's a big problem with other municipalities as well. So, but it was a great tour this morning. So.
Same. I want to thank Ashley for organizing that and Chief for showing us. It's seeing the diversity in each one of the houses and how they're run is it's pretty cool. And again, it was an eye-opening experience to see how all that's run, and it was just a great thing to see. And I piggyback off of you. Yeah, get involved. See where you can donate. You don't have to donate money. You can donate material things, and that was really good. Second thing, I'd like to encourage everybody that we're having 3:00 on Thursday, the ribbon cutting ceremony at the DM Bowman Family Workforce Training Center. It's ribbon cutting at 3. What's that?
Is it Thursday?
Thursday at 3, yeah. And Friday is Thunder in the Square, Public Square. Sure we'll get yelled at for blocking off the road, but it's always a great event to have, and I'll be there judging as well. That's Friday from 5 to 8. And I'd also like to wish Commissioner John Barr a get well and a speedy recovery as he's recovering at Meritus right now. So, and that's it for me. Do I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion on any topics tonight? Okay, we're adjourned.